anybody's here. How do we go to chat?
Bless you. I don't know. You say bless you if someone burps.
Okay, we're live, Stephanie. Don't embarrass me. Don't embarrass me. I haven't been on the channel for 3 years, so.
You're the one who decided to do this on your channel.
I know. I just am, I have morbid curiosity.
I'm embarrassing. That's
true.
not my problem.
It'll be deleted real quick. Or I'll just blur your face and leave August. Look at that little guy. It's your first live stream?
Hey, it's
Oh my
Nicholas.
God.
Are you clapping?
He's going to divert attention from me, which I don't know how I feel about. I'm willing to sacrifice.
Yeah, he's not.
Hi, Nicola. Oh my God.
Hi.
Hold on, let me turn off my background. Nicola, can you hear my background elevator music? This is the ushering in the people that no longer exist on this channel. I don't want music now. Hi, Ashish. Am I able to put these on? Okay. Oh, look at this. I love this.
Oh, no, baby.
Ashish, you're not allowed to mention prayer because Stephanie is anti-religion. She couldn't even...
I feel like this whole video is just going to be you cracking me up. The baby dipped his finger in Mama's drink.
Oh my God. This is documented. Baby in one hand and a cocktail in the other. This is America.
It's a cocktail in a can, at least.
This is the thing, Stephanie, I was reflecting. This is our 4th year of doing our mid-year book tag. Mm-hmm. And I've been thinking about kind of the time, and you've blossomed into adulthood, right? You've bought a house, you got married, you now have this child, my godson. And what about me? What about me? What have I accomplished? Huh? Nothing. Nothing.
You got 2 cats. I don't know if
that's pandering. Hi, Richard. Baby Adam would try to get his fingers in. Oh, God. Well, Stephanie forgot she was down here in the spring. She forgot the papers to officially make me the godfather because she doesn't want 2 fathers for her child, even though she pretends she's progressive. Also, I'm pretty sure you said you were going to name it August Adam. I'm guessing you kept the A theme in honor of me.
Yes, yeah, totally.
But it is.
Oh, did you see that newest comment?
I'm not. Well, listen. I don't want to be this stream to become like attacking Stephanie because we're good friends. But I've had a conversation with Stephanie where Stephanie is in the medical field, which is so corrupt and so owned by these evil insurance companies that just ruin people's lives. So she is supporting the system, while meanwhile I work for a department within a certain corporation that oversees the employment of a lot of hardworking blue-collar workers, many of which are. So technically, I have a more noble position than Stephanie as a nurse. Again, that's going to be it. There's going to be no more Stephanie bashing. That's it.
I don't even know how to respond. You just said that was ridiculous. Oh. Raises a fair point.
Yes, no ethical. We're all in the mud, Stephanie. You, me, and August, we're all in the mud.
That's fine. Sure. I guess I concur. However, it's I find my job very fulfilling, even if you think it is corrupt or whatever, because I get to help people and see them get better, and that makes me
Me
feel
too.
good.
Me and I do as well. So I'm glad we're both satisfied in our
Oh my gosh.
employment. No ethical
That
employment
is
under capitalism.
so funny.
Late stage empire. Um,
Wow.
Good luck, August.
I actually do feel a lot of like when I mean, I guess I don't want to be too much of a downer, but I'm feeling a lot of like guilt about bringing him into the world and all of the horrible things he's going to have to experience later in life. But I should focus on right now. And right now he's cute and doesn't know about all the terrible things.
They live in the moment, except about me. She's horrified of me. So
of what?
He's me. The only fear he has in life is me.
That is not true. It's the slot sucker, Adam. Okay.
Stephanie was recently at my place with August, and you know we had a weekend of book shopping, and he was so fantastic the whole time. He was just a dream, never made a peep, didn't have one outburst in one bookshop. And then Stephanie left the child alone with me for 10 seconds. And I'll tell you how it went down. He gripped my finger, and he has a very strong grip.
Yeah.
Okay. And he looked in my eyes, and I saw joy. And then I saw something snap within him. Like, I saw it like the switch in his eyes. Mm-hmm. And he let out the most blood-curdling scream. And this was when he was left alone with me while Stephanie was on the other side of the room. So he made me look really bad.
Weren't you making fun of him?
I was not making stuff. I'm not that big of an asshole. I'm not going to make fun of a baby to his face.
To his face.
To his face. I mean, I'll talk behind his back like any normal person. Oh, God, he's scared. Yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
See, I see it again. Hi.
He likes you.
I'm not going to hurt you.
Oh my gosh, things that one shouldn't have to say.
Okay, shall we get this ball rolling? As always, this is our 4th annual mid-year book tag. We no longer call it the mid-year freakout tag because Stephanie and I, over the years, have chopped this tag up and taken questions out and putting our own in because a lot of the original questions don't pertain to us as readers. And I think that the person that made the original freakout tag is no longer around, so I don't feel bad. You know, they're probably dead. You know, let's be real. Yeah, that's why I come on here once a year to prove that I'm still alive. You know, what are people going to think? But we do this, and I hope I got the questions right. So it's how many questions do we got, Stephanie? Did you have all your books lined up?
I have 13. I have my books lined up.
Okay. So we're gonna run them down as always, and it's as always, it's a good excuse. And feel free to poke in any answers for August if he's read any books. I don't know how he's doing on his Goodreads goal, or
you know, we haven't started his Goodreads account yet.
Has he made it past the crinkly books, or?
Yeah, I think, you know, kinda. He still puts everything in his mouth, so he does like I have an example here. This is one of his books, Dragon's First Taco, but you know, he is putting them all in his mouth, and then the cardboard starts to end up.
It's a multifunctional learning tool then.
Yes.
Do you have your drink?
Yes, my peach mojito wine cocktail. So yummy.
Okay. I have my quad shot with a splash of cream from Anchorhead, Nicola. Okay. So thanks. So August really gave us hell after that. Yes. Yeah, that's what we blame it on, Nicola. It was the buildup of all the stress of Indie Bookstore Day that finally came out. It wasn't me.
Probably, actually.
A hazelnut's worth of cream, yes. All right. Question 1 is, how many books have you read this year? And as always, it's ladies first. So how many books have you read so far in 2024?
19.
19, and
I'm
that's
second
fine.
behind.
I know, everybody has a different kind of idea of what their reading amount should be at any given time. So that's low for you.
Yeah, my goal is a book a week, so
That's a lot. That's a lot.
I feel like it shouldn't be that
I
hard.
feel you're better. I thought you were lower like last year. I feel like at least are you a little more settled?
I don't know. I don't remember how many books I read last year, but it also was not a large amount. But compared to pre-booktube, before booktube, it was like 20 a year. So I guess I shouldn't really complain too much.
Yeah. Any book is good, and I am way ahead than I usually am. I've read 40 books so far this year. Yeah. More importantly, I was looking at according to the Goodreads thing, my average page count is like 287 pages. I'm like real books and not just these pamphlets that we
You always have to dig at me.
I'm not digging at you. I didn't say anything. Okay. Hi, Jacqueline. Nice to see you. The weather's beautiful here. Yeah. Is it nice down there, Stephanie? It's currently 12
Too hot.
degrees. I don't know what 12 degrees translates to.
Oh, I can do the math. Hold on. 12 degrees.
It's like 80s here compared to the rest of the country.
Ooh,
beautiful.
53.
Oh, 53 in Ireland.
Maybe. Hopefully I did that math right. I think so. That sounds so good. Ooh.
We'll be there soon
85
enough.
here.
Soon enough. Well, I discovered I now deal with seasonal depression, so I have to soak it in the summer and enjoy it while I have it before we enter our gray dome.
104?
Richard Reeves is a book hoarder. Pathetic. The 104, Nicola. That's obscene. You just stay in your house. After this stream, I'm going to go lay in the park, trying to get a little sun. Okay, so yeah, I'm doing great, and you're doing okay. So that's on the reading. But yeah, I think I have something like 67 or so books as my goal. So I'm on track for that. But I do tend to dip and read slower in the summer. Like the beginning of the year is my hot spot. So we'll see how I do the rest of the year. All right. Question number 2, of course, is the big one, is the best read so far in 2024. I'll go first for this. I'm going to cheat on this one and do a double guy. These two guys, I never know how to pronounce his first name. Mircea Cartarescu. This is Solenoid. It's a Romanian novel published a few years ago. And then the other is the big guy, Jan Foss, Septology. So both of these were just, they're very different books, but also similar in the fact that they're both kind of character studies of two artists. In the case of Solenoid, it's a failed writer who's become a school teacher. In Septology, it's a very famous painter. Solenoid is much more kind of surrealistic and disturbing and kind of pushes the envelopes of surrealism, while Septology is a little bit more patient and a kind of stream of consciousness. But I picked both of these because I don't think in terms of star ratings, I think that's a very like immature way to look at books, to constantly thinking, the difference between like a 4-star book and a 5-star book. But what makes a great book to me is something that will live on, right? But live on in your mind, and more importantly, something you can return to and know you'll get more out of when you read it again. And both those books for that were these two for the year for me. So those are my favorite. Big guys. See how big those are, Stephanie?
Yeah. Do you want to see how small my favorite book of the year is?
Let's see it. Oh, I gave that to you. Oh my God, you guys. The taste maker.
I really enjoyed this. I feel like it hits a lot of different emotional tones or notes or whatever. And I don't know, it just feels cozy is the wrong word. It gives me a feeling inside of myself that is nice. Also, I don't remember how to talk about books. I've posted 3 videos this year.
Better than me. I haven't talked about books since I last saw you, so it feels very solenoid-ish.
I don't know why I'm laughing. I don't know what that means, but that's okay. But yeah, I just, I thought it was so good, and
it was.
I love books that focus on women and women's experiences and how not positive. Why are you making that face? Some things are, and people don't necessarily, I like all experiences, but it feels good to hear from a woman's perspective, especially in the time period too. I don't,
It's been a while since I read that, but I remember, race definitely played into the book, but it was more than that. It was really her whole life.
Yeah, I want to say it's like coming of age, but it's not an adult, but it has that same kind of like feel where you're like learning and growing with her kind of as she experiences different things. And thank you, Jacqueline. But yes, that's it's very, very good. Thank you, Adam. I appreciate the book.
Absolutely. And Nicola, I counted Septology as 1 book on my Goodreads. It's technically 8 books, Stephanie, in the sky. They were published separately, but I bought a bind up. But being the perfectionist that I am, I only counted this as 1 book. So that brings my total up to what, 46 books or something like that? 47?
I'm just counting.
All right. Question 3 is the best nonfiction. You first.
The Lumumba Plot by Stuart A. Reed. This was so good. I read this for a BookTube prize. And it's just fascinating. I didn't know anything about this. I mean, nothing, like obviously I'd heard of Patrice Lumumba and have a general idea, but this was very, very well written nonfiction. I have a problem with lots of nonfiction books and how they're written, and this is like very matter of fact, so very like well researched, I guess. And also it's just like infuriating to read this, and there's still like lots of problems happening in the Democratic Republic of Congo, and it's really terrible how the US feels the need to put their finger on everything, and it makes me filled with rage. But the book was like really, good, interesting information about
I would like
something
that.
I didn't know.
I feel like they're jumping on that what's the Flowers of the Killer Moon vibe. There's a lot of books like that coming out.
Yeah, I really,
that looks good. And that looks relatively thick.
I mean, there's a lot of notes. It's only like 400 and something.
Bormac McFarlane. I don't know who that is. I haven't read any of those books this year, so I don't know what you're talking about. My answer for this was easy for fiction was I got this on Independent Bookstore Day. This is Big Fiction by Dan Sinekin, and it was.
Are we doing best nonfiction or best fiction?
This is nonfiction about fiction.
Okay. And then it's got the word fiction in the title.
It's called Big Fiction. The tagline is How Conglomeration Changed the Publishing Industry and American Literature.
So wait, up so I can take a picture of it.
Oh my gosh, I guess if there was one book though that I would want to put into everybody's hands, it would be this book. It's incredible. It essentially follows like 65 to 70 years of American publishing history following World War II, which is when kind of conglomeration entered the world of literature, and it kind of talks from the time where it started with the push of mass market paperbacks. And so in America, you had people being able to obtain books that they regularly were not able to, and how that led into the chain bookstore with your B. Daltons and your Walden books. and how they got eaten up by Barnes and Noble and the big warehouse chains, and then of course eventually to online. And it dives into everything from how conglomeration affects women writers, writers of color. It talks about like celebrities like Stephen King and Daniel Steele within the industry. So it was just like this really wonderful overview of the publishing history of the last 65 to 70 years. There's so many, just any reader would just dive into this, because the biggest joy is that he's not only talking about this, but you can tell Dan Sinekin is also a big reader himself, and he has a lot of passion for a lot of the books he talks about in it. So he talks about Cormac McCarthy. He talks about who's the beloved lady a lot,
Morrison.
all the big names of Joan Didion and a lot of the obscure authors too that I follow. He mentions them too. So yeah, it was such a good book, and one I just wish I could put it in everybody's hands.
I'm 100% convinced that sounds so good.
You remember when I got this at I think I got it at the university bookstore. It's like $30 because it's by Columbia University.
I remember that.
Well, I've already gifted this to like 2 separate people, and I'm like, that's expensive little gift.
That sounds good.
Okay. Question 4 is the best reread or sequel you have read. This is gonna. Oh no, it's your turn or mine?
I think it's yours.
Mine. Yeah. This is gonna be triggering for you, Stephanie.
Oh.
I read the entirety of the Marilynne Robinson Gilead series. Okay.
Ooh.
And I don't know. I guess it's not technically a sequel, but it's part of the series. The second book, which is called Home. It was so good. It was so good. I don't think, the series as a whole, I don't think I was necessarily converted into like a Marilynne Robinson super fan by any means, but they are books that kind of are living within the American canon, right? And I think they will continue to be. And the series as a whole was uneven, but Home, the second book, it follows the neighbors that live next door to the characters from the first book, and it's a very claustrophobic book. It pretty much all takes place within the walls of one home, between a father who's a preacher, his daughter who is middle-aged and has had to move back home to take care of him, and then Jack, who you're familiar with from the fourth book, who's kind of returns after being gone, and we learn in Jack where he was. But it was great. I just kind of sunk into these books. I thought they were really good. And I know you read Jack and you read part of Gilead, and you didn't click at all.
No, not one bit. Not into it.
Why?
It's just the vibe, man. I don't know what to tell you. I barely remember the plot of Jack. And again, I read Jack for BookTube Prize.
Mm-hmm.
And I do find it slightly irritating that we read sequels in the BookTube Prize, because maybe there's some world in which I could have enjoyed these books if I had not started with Jack. But because I did, I think it kind of just like, it's just like, I don't know. It just feels too much like when you're watching a soap opera and they have like the mistiness kind of the, like everyone has like that glow.
Oh, I love that.
I hate that shit. Oh. I'm not into it.
Oh, I love it. I love a good atmosphere, Stephanie.
I like a good atmosphere too, just not that specific atmosphere. That way, again,
I mean, it's okay to say it's because they're religious toned, and
Well, I've read religious toned books, and I either liked or at least like appreciated and understood where they were coming from. I mean, I read Heidi. That is a super religiously toned book. I know it's a children's book, but while I didn't like it, I appreciated it, and I didn't feel the same way I felt for this Marilynne Robinson crap. I'm just not into it, man. I don't know what to tell you.
Okay, it's okay. I don't think I was like necessarily blown away, but it was nice. I felt like I put a big puzzle piece, clamped down into place in terms of American literature, because she obviously is, a big name, and I'm happy I read it. But yeah, I'm not gonna, debate on Robinson, but obviously, yeah, I liked it more than you did. It was good. And I think you would home. I think if there was any of them, not that you ever would return home.
Yeah. Based on your description, if this were a different timeline of existence and reality, I would be interested in reading the book that you just described, but there is no way that is ever going to happen.
Fair enough.
I like claustrophobic. That sounds nice, but again, yeah, I'm just not into her writing. Yeah, for me. I have not reread anything, and the only sequel that I attempted to read this year was Be Cool, which is part 2 of in the Elner Leonard. What's his name? Elmore Leonard duology. Get Shorty, Be Cool. I DNF'd it. I don't know how far into it. Maybe like 20 pages. It just was not for me. That's all I've got.
You like the first book? I mean, I assume you read the first
not
one.
really. It was fine. I don't know what to tell you. Wow, these cats are crazy.
Do you have a dog?
No, I have 2 crazy cats.
Oh, that looks like a dog. Like a poodle.
The first one was acceptable. But I think I did the classic thing of I had purchased both of them like at the same time, or I would have not bought Be Cool based on my reading of Get Shorty, but I already had it. And so I tried it, and I'm trying to ditch things. You said you were going to come over here and help me.
I am. I'm going to come this fall, and we're going to have a little cleansing.
Okay. I need to be cleansed.
We'll see if August makes the cut or not. We'll see how well behaved he is.
But yeah, I'm just trying to kind of like dip my toes into books that I don't think I'm gonna like, just so I can say I tried and then get them off my shelves, because life's too short.
I don't even go that far. I'm like,
I feel like
I want to revisit it. It'll be there for me to purchase at another date.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
And why? Like I said, I've been getting rid of so much stuff the last few years, hundreds of books. I think there's been like maybe once or twice where I went back and rebought a book I had purged. Like, that's fine,
Mm-hmm.
Those aren't bad stats. Okay, next question. You start. The newest release you have read in 2024.
Are you ready?
Uh-huh.
Meet the mushrooms.
Glib. I don't like, a couple years ago, I was into this mushroom stuff, Stephanie, if you remember that. That is pretty cool.
It's so cool.
I do like that guy. Those little guys, they look like Pac-Man mushrooms, like the ghosts.
Yeah, this one's really, really fun. We get to learn about mushrooms, playing hide and seek.
But this is like promotes drugs to children, I think.
Sure.
Well, again, if you remember, a couple years ago, I was into the whole microdosing thing, and I was into that, but it became too much. I'm like, I was panicking because I was stressed out about how much I was doing. But I don't understand. Every store now in Seattle and Portland and in the Northwest has to have a mushroom section.
First of all, his name is August, and Gus is his nickname, and he's fun. So he's a fun Gus. So, we have to have lots of mushroom paraphernalia in our house.
Wait, what?
His name is August, and we call him Gus because Gus is a nickname for August, and he's a very fun guy. So we call him a fun Gus.
But what does that have to do with mushrooms?
A fungus.
Oh, God. Oh no. I can't handle that sort of stuff. That's too many pieces to the puzzle. God.
Anyways, yeah, this
is
sadly the newest. It was newest release, right?
Yeah.
Besides this, it's the Lumumba plot, which I've already mentioned. The last real book.
Look at, he's like, I'm over this.
Yeah, he's starting to get healthy. I'm gonna text Jake to take him. But you go.
Mine. So I'm actually still reading this, and I've read a handful of books that were like published this year, but are like new translations or re-releases of Backlist, which this is, and I'm currently reading it, but I want to mention because I'm so hyped about it. This is Marshland by Otohiko Kaga. It's a Japanese novel, massive, 900 pages, Stephanie. Okay. But I had this pre-order. And this is by, you're familiar with all these indies. Dalkey Archive Press. Do you know them? they're like, they never meet their publishing date. Like they all, which I really, they really release a lot of big books that they, dig up from the past. This was originally published in 1985. It's a Japanese fiction. And yeah, I've been diving into this. I'm only in like 150 pages into this massive book, but it just came out a couple weeks ago finally. And it's so good. It's just this big epic tale of this Japanese guy who served in World War II, and then he had a criminal past following it, and now he's like a mechanic with his nephew in Tokyo, and it follows this family who live in the marshlands, the more rural area of Japan, and it's just I've been reading a lot of those books, and those first ones, the Septology and the Solenoid, they were very kind of surreal, mental. Don't interrupt me, please.
I'm sorry, Jake's gonna take the baby right now. he's
oh my God, you're being ushered out.
I don't know if I can.
Goodbye. It's nice knowing you. I'm taking him to the dungeon.
Yeah.
Okay. But it was it's those other books I read were very experimental in nature, and this is certainly rich literary, but it's more of a conventional structure, so it's kind of nice to be just kind of sunk into a big epic drama that's playing out. So yeah, that's the newest, just came out a couple weeks ago, finally. Marshland. Next question. Oh, there goes the dog.
Are you gonna look in the comment section really fast?
Yeah, well, it's all Richard.
I know, but he's appreciating my joke.
To delayed response. When I come to Seattle, you're going to be a mushroom trip advice. No, I'm not going to be a mushroom. I'm not into that. I'm over that. Richard, you missed my mushroom phase. I thought I was reborn, but it didn't work out. Oh, he understood the fungus joke. Fungus.
Thank you, Richard.
I feel like we need another, like, he's born around Halloween. It needs like a spookier reference. This is like, it's a Halloween baby named August, and now I got to connect it to mushrooms. Like, my mind can't grapple all that. Like, it's too much for me.
No Jake in the background.
My gosh, what's he doing? Is he gonna lock the job? Gosh. This is being recorded, Stephanie.
You're gonna delete it anyway, so who cares?
I'm not. I have all my live videos up. Maybe I should do shrooms with you. Well, we could have a trip. I'll wake up working a blue collar. I don't work a blue collar job.
No, he manages people.
I support people.
Yeah.
You think these hands are doing labor, Richard?
Oh my goodness. Okay.
Okay, next question is, I lost all my questions.
Biggest disappointment.
Oh, biggest disappointment. This is another Japanese novel, and another one I picked up. This was on our indie bookstore day as what do you call it when you get free books? Date with whatever.
Art giveaways.
Giveaways.
I don't like that. That's so disappointing.
Osamu Dazai's self-portrait, which, funny enough, I read years ago his No Longer Human. Did we read that together, Richard, or something? I don't know. But this kind of like, have you read this author before?
Yeah, I read No Longer Human, and I read like, I think Schoolgirl, is that his too? I don't know. I read something else by him too.
I don't know. New Direction is milking him for everything he's worth. The poor dead guy. You know how they do. But it was. I had a similar experience where, No Longer Human has this kind of cult status and a following, and I feel just because of the surrounding of his suicide and that connection to that and that book has elevated it. And it's a disappointment because I know you've had this experience where you're reading a book and it's your sort of book. The language is, probably fine. You're enjoying it, but for whatever reason, in a month or 2 months or 3 months, you're not going to remember anything about it, right? We've all been there. Even though I love I love Japanese literature. I like these melancholic, sexually repressed Japanese men, and they're my Kobo Abes and my Yasunari Kawabatas and my Obes and even the Murakami. I like these guys, so there's no reason I shouldn't like this guy. But it's just like No Longer Human. This was even less. I think will stick even less. It was just a collection of short stories, and some of them were okay. But it's also a bad sign when it's, this wasn't originally published as a collection. It's kind of culled together from different places, and usually those are not that great. But yeah, it's just something I won't remember in a month. So it wasn't necessarily horrible, but it's frustrating because he's an author that should click for me because of those themes, but for whatever reason he doesn't. So it was a bummer.
That is a bummer. Mine was Time is a Mother by Ocean Vuong. Is that what his last name is?
Oh God, Ocean Vuong.
I loved On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous. I cried. I know you didn't like it. I read
a third of it.
Which third?
With the stuff with his mom, I thought was interesting. Everything else, I was,
I read it in less than a day, so I also kind of I just got sucked in. I just went for it, and I really, really liked that book. I cried so much, and so I was like, oh, this is another author that I like, and that's exciting. And I just did not like Time as a Mother. I gave it 2 stars, which I find shocking, in retrospect, but I don't really remember anything about the reading experience. I don't remember a single thing. I mean, it was a poetry collection, so what am I going to remember exactly other than it just did not work for me? Not one poem was I like, oh yeah, this is really deep and good, and I can, it makes me feel something. It was very bland and blah, and I feel really guilty.
You should feel guilty. It wasn't good. I read that. I was on vacation and I was in an airport bookstore. And I was so desperate to find something. I like the novelty of buying a book at a airport bookstore because there's something romanticized about it. And I got that, and like you, I don't remember anything about it. But I'm just like, oh, I don't like this little guy at all. He's annoying, and he's just done a lot of weird stuff.
Like what?
Well, he now teaches. He's teaches at some university, and I don't know. I don't think he's a Zionist, but there's some weird stuff going on with him. I don't know. Something weird. I don't know.
And I missed a bunch of stuff, so I don't know what you said, but
yeah. Poetry collections. Strip cover. We need a 17-part breakdown. I know. Well, if we still had our books, we could do a dramatic reading, but
I got rid of that. Not keeping that in my house.
Okay, I co-sign that. I read that last year, but that was a disappointing read. Next question is your newest or favorite new author. Oh, it's your turn? Mine.
It is, yeah.
Okay, yeah. Oh, please.
I really loved this. So this is Najwa bin Shatwan, who I believe is Libyan, but now, yeah, she's Libyan. And I purchased this when we were doing the project that I was doing where we're trying to read books from all around the world. And I had purchased it, but I didn't read it at the time, which is, classic me. I know. And this was so good. It's a short story collection, so I can't really say too much about maybe everything, but maybe I'll just talk about the first short story, The Burglar in White Socks. It's about a burglar who goes into he crashes into this house, and only women are in the house because I forget if maybe the husband's absent or someone's gone on a trip, so there's only women in the house, and a male burglar has gone into the house, and so what are they supposed to do? Because there's a guy in their house.
Women can't do shit, Stephanie.
What?
Go on.
Oh, it's just very funny because they basically have him kidnapped because they can't take him out of the house because then they'll have shame upon their house or whatever because it's an Arab country, and I think they have to I think that they, you know, have head coverings and all of that stuff. So it's very like specific. If a man is with a woman, like it's like father, brother, or husband, and that is it. So because this burglar broke into the house and there's no men present, they basically kidnapped him, and it is so funny. It is hilarious. And one of the girls like kind of develops like a little bit of a crush on him, but there's something about her that I forget what it is that makes it so that the mom thinks that she wouldn't like, you know, pursue him. Like there's something off about her, but I can't remember like what exactly it is. But she ends up developing feelings for the guy because she's the only one that will help him, like that can bring him food and do all of this. It's so funny. It cracks me up. Not all of them are super funny because, you know, it's an area of the world that has lots of turmoil. But that's kind of just like a little vibe. It was that. Well, the second I read that short story, I was like, yes, anything that this author writes, I will read. However, I don't know how much would be available to me because even finding anything by a Libyan author translated into English was extremely difficult. This is published by Daedalus Books, which I think focuses on, it's Daedalus Africa. So they have a very short list of books that they've published, but I would read anything that they publish because, again, I just like loved this so much. I'm so happy. This is, you know, another example of why it's important to read small presses and read things that are translated from other countries because they're usually really good.
Yeah, it's a shame that you gave up on both those projects.
I know. Well, I would like to try something new that has maybe less pressure. I feel like because of like the group of people and like feeling like needing to, you know, I think if it's like more of a personal thing, then it would be easier for me that I wouldn't feel as disappointed in myself if I don't read a book or something, as opposed to like, oh, I'm supposed to be hosting this thing and I'm not reading anything. So
yeah, I learned very quickly because I did that once with book club and I failed. I'm like, I'm never doing that again. It's all about my own reading. Yeah. Mr. Rorissery, thank you. It's nice.
We all miss Adam.
I know. Eventually. I always say eventually. No, Doris, hi.
Yes.
Oh my God. 82 in North Carolina. You're not in China? Did somebody finally break you up? Broke Down Palace? Huh?
She's on a trip right now.
Broke Down Palace, Doris. Who?
What does it even mean? I don't know.
You didn't see Broke Down. You haven't seen Broke Down Palace with Clara Danes? That's such a Stephanie movie. Stephanie. Broke Down Clara Danes is on vacation in Thailand and she meets these guys that trick her into smuggling drugs.
Oh, did we just talk about this?
Probably.
I feel like I just talked about this movie with someone, but I didn't know what it was called.
Oh my God.
Broke Down Palace.
Doris, does that man over there try to have you bring stuff into North Carolina or what?
Are you sure that's what it's called? And yes.
Broke Down Palace, right? Yeah.
I just looked it up, or I just tried to look it up.
Seriously?
Sorry. Oh. I was looking up Broke Down as two separate words.
So much for being a reader.
You put a space between those words. Anyway.
All right. My favorite new author is the Australian author. She's an Aboriginal author, Alexis Wright. This is her book, Praiseworthy. Have you heard of this?
I saw you pick up one of those at Indie Bookstore Day.
Yeah, I love this so much. I bought another one called Carpentaria, but this was great. This was also published this year. And it's the sort of thing that if I describe, it's the sort of book I would not be drawn to. I'm not into like whimsical social justice sort of tales at all. You know, this thing where, there's a alternative timeline where women have electricity that comes out of their hands. So now they have the power and oh my God, wouldn't that be cool? Stuff like that. I just don't like that shit. But this, you know, it's a tale about a fictional town, an Aboriginal town within Australia called Praiseworthy. And there is a mysterious haze that is related to global warming that's surrounding this city. And it primarily follows a family where each of the members very distinctively represent an archetype of Aboriginal lifestyle. So you have a father who's hunting down wild donkeys to create this transporting business. You have a mother who's constantly daydreaming and she's surrounded by like butterflies and moss. You have their two sons, one of which is convinced that all fellow Aboriginals are pedophiles, and he wants to escape to the white man world. And then another son who gets lost at sea very early on in the book. So usually that sort of stuff is kind of iffy for me, but it was the most singular reading experience I had all year. The language is this lyrical, bizarre style that just kind of floats along. And again, this is another chunky book, and you just get sucked into these long paragraphs of this really unique writing style. And it was just the most unique thing I've read in years. So I was just immediately just wanted to read everything she's published, and this is won a bunch of prizes and whatnot. So I felt very hip reading this, Stephanie. I'm usually not in on the the hype stuff, but just really phenomenal. I think you would like her a lot. And I don't know much about Australian history. I don't know much about Aboriginal lifestyle. So it allowed me to kind of learn a little bit more about that. And all of the crazy shit that's gone down there in such a short history. I think it's like I never took into account how young Australia is in terms of its colonization and what it's done to its people. It's very fresh. So it's like shocking. It's shocking. Doris, 48 books in the first half. What a show off. What a show off. She must be on a delay. Spot on with the star rating comment. That was 2 hours ago, Doris. No delay. All right, next question. Is your newest favorite character? What is my new favorite character, Stephanie? It is my turn, yeah? Mm-hmm. You're the one that's going to have to do this each time, telling me, because I can't keep track. I'm going to go with, I read Master and Commander. You know that series, right? Mm-hmm. Really?
I've heard of it, but I don't know anything about it or what it is.
It's like when men become middle-aged, they start reading these books. And my favorite character, it's Stefan Motterin. He is the physician on the Sophie. So these books, they take place during the Napoleonic Wars. It follows the captain, who is Jack Aubrey, and then his like best friend, who is this physician, Stefan Motterin. So he is the physician on the ship, and he plays a really important role. And this is the first book in like a 20-book series, because he is the captain meets him at the beginning of the novel, and this guy is not part of the British military, or the Navy. I don't know what they call them. So he comes onto this ship not knowing anything, and that's really important for the reader, because Patrick O'Brien throws you into kind of this seafaring life and all these details about ships, and through the eyes of this physician, we're able to learn a lot, because he doesn't know anything either. So he's a really, their friendship is really cute, and it's their little adventures in the Napoleonic War. And I'm going to continue on with the series, though I am disappointed, because again, this is like 20-book series, and from my understanding, 20 books, both of which it's these two guys on the ship, and they never do gay stuff. Like, really, Stephanie?
That's not realistic at all.
Not realistic. Never do gay stuff. These guys make it through 20 books on this ship. Like, and Patrick O'Brien, even in the first one, they have to take a vow that if they do gay shit, they got to walk the plank. Okay? Because they didn't want those guys during the war spending all their times, in the poop deck doing what.
Yeah, that is not very realistic. I mean, how many years, on a ship.
How long did the war last? That's
Yeah.
another. I don't know anything about the Napoleon and the war. Tried watching the movie. It was horrible. Horrible. Did you see that movie with Joaquin Phoenix? It was embarrassing.
Oh, no. I'm not really interested in that.
I love history.
No. I love history too, but I don't love like watching movies that are like reenactments or not. I guess not reenactment, but like biopic type vibes.
You don't like war movies?
No.
I'm just a man. I'm just a man. Doris says, reread Tolkien. I don't know what that means.
That's her favorite reread of the year.
Oh, Marilyn. Oh, Doris loves Marilyn too.
Well, at least she agrees Jack wasn't her favorite. So I really think that I just unfortunately read the lesser of the books.
Okay.
And it's not.
Why even go to sea? Yeah, if you're not, what's the point of going to sea and being in the Navy if you're not going to have gay sex? So yeah, I love Gilead and Lila. Jack was my favorite. Well, yeah, Doris, as I said, I loved Home, and surprisingly, Lila was my least favorite, even though she was my favorite character in the first book. But yeah, those Christians. Okay, your answer, your new favorite character.
So this is kind of hard. I haven't read a ton of books, so I don't have a lot of characters to pick from, but this book, Home Reading Service by Fabio Moravito, translated by Curtis Bauer, Other Press book, just just want to make sure
Diving deep.
There is
just want to make sure people don't think you're a basic bitch.
Well, I also want to promote the small presses that are doing good things, but that's okay. So this follows a guy who he's done some kind of crime that is never mentioned, but part of his community service in order to not go to jail or something is to do a home reading service. So he goes to different houses and reads to them. So, there's a family that is deaf, which you'd be like, that doesn't make sense, but they read his lips. And someone that whatever, different reasons, but his father has a caretaker, Celeste, and she is badass. She doesn't have like a huge part in the beginning kind of the book, but he gets involved with a woman who he's reading to, and basically each house that he goes to, he kind of like stirs up the pot a little bit when he goes into these homes. Like, for example, the deaf family, the kids are not deaf, just the parents are, but they insist that their children are deaf. And so he's trying to read with his mouth covered, and the parents get really upset. So he does all kinds of things at these different houses for whatever reason. And he develops a relationship with a woman. He steals some money from a guy. He does all kinds of stuff. And this, what do you call caregiver for his father kind of helps him get out of the trouble that he's in. And she does it. She's just like very, in my opinion, slick. Slick's not the right word. She's good at using her charms and her knowledge to get things done. Basically, it's just a woman kind of saving a man, again, per usual. And I think that she did it with style. And I appreciated her as a character in this book that had a protagonist that was not exactly likable.
I feel this would be a book that a lot of booktubers would like, because very few people on here actually like read their own books, right? There's this big community of audiobookers, and like I'm supposed to finger clap that you've read 72 books so far this year when the majority of them are audio, so I think that should have been played into that book. Do you think? Agree or disagree?
I have no idea what you're trying to say about.
I'm saying
because someone's reading
to you. Yeah, I mean, that'd be a nice service. Someone pay me, I'll come. I'm a real reader. I'll come to your house.
It's exhausting to read out loud. I try reading whenever I'm reading a book. I try, and the baby is in the room, I try reading out loud to the baby. And honestly, after 2 pages, I'm tired.
And it's
exhausting.
It's exhausting. Yeah. And well, I've even tried to train myself, because they say the reason it takes so long to read is because you're technically reading out loud with inside your own head, if that makes sense, right? Like you're reading the words, but you should just be reading them and having them go directly. I don't know. It's a whole thing in terms of speed reading. I don't know, because you're you're reading the page and reading out loud within your own head, when in reality the words should just flow into your brain, and we should be smarter than that. So that's
Well,
a whole other level. Like the audiobookers can't even, grasp that.
it is way easier to read silently because you can like see the sentence as opposed to reading each individual word when you're reading in your head, but reading out loud, it probably is liberating, Doris, but I'm too afraid. I'm a coward. And there's no, you need to stop with the audiobook shaming. It's important for people to be able to read books however works for their lives.
I disagree. I absolutely, if you're deaf, you should, but I can't handle this. Like, I just can't concentrate. Like, I don't care. I don't care. The point is, I don't take book recommendations from people because, like, I don't want to hear about the book you loved while you were eating a Subway sandwich and scrolling through TikTok. Like, that's fine, but I'm just not invested in your brain as it pertains to whatever book you're talking about if you're an audiobooker.
That's fine. Whatever. You have your own opinion. But can we just rewind for 1 second? People can scroll on TikTok and listen to a book at the same time?
Oh, absolutely. They're doing all sorts of shit, Stephanie. I don't think any of these people, audiobookers, are sitting there and patiently listening. They're all doing some other bullshit. They're crocheting. They're
taking care of their small children that won't let them.
Oh, God. Well, you got to make a choice, Stephanie. The books or fungus, okay?
Ooh, Doris liked my joke also. Yay.
She technically didn't say she liked it. She said
laughing. That means she thinks it's funny.
God, Halloween baby named after the summer with connections to mushrooms. Like, we need like a spooky kind of nickname for him that, like, taps into his autumnal spirit. I mean, I guess fungus can be kind of seasonal, but I'll work on that.
Okay.
I'll figure it out later.
Okay,
next question. Favorite book to film adaptations. Whose turn? Yours.
Mine. If it's an odd question, it's my turn. If it's
that's too much power. You just tell me.
So I wasn't sure what to like. I haven't read anything, I don't think, that's been adapted. So I picked a movie that I watched that is an adaptation, but I did not read the original source material. And it's the movie The House of Yes, featuring Parker Posey and Freddie Prinze Jr. and Tori Spelling.
Oh, wow.
Based on a play. It's so good. When you watch it, you're like, oh, this feels like a play. It's got play vibes. And then I found out that it is based on a play, but it's basically this woman who's played by Parker Posey is obsessed with her brother and with Jackie O. And I lost my train of thought because of these comments over here. My brain. It's great. I love Parker Posey.
Parker Posey is your all-time favorite actress?
Possibly. August's middle name is Parker.
Would you pick
Parker
Posey or Brandy?
Parker Posey.
You're pretty excited about Brandy.
I love Brandy. Don't get me wrong. Have you seen I Still Know What You Did Last Summer?
Yes.
She
did survive in that, right? I remember there was a scene where her and it was raining and there's like a glass house or something.
She did survive. She carried that movie. Jennifer Love Hewitt, unfortunately, is not that great of an actress, and Brandy brought that movie to good status. But anyways, Parker Posey is amazing. I absolutely adore and love her, and she plays a deranged lunatic who is I just love people who have no sense of how crazy they're being.
Well, she's very good at that. Yes,
she's very good at that, which is probably why I like her so much. Oh my gosh, the baby's back
from the wall.
And I recommend, but I haven't read the play. But whatever.
Yeah, Brandy killed somebody in a car, right?
No.
Yeah, she's a murderer. It's like what's her name? The Jenner. Who's the Jenner that transitioned? My brother's name is Gus. That's all just Gus. My grandfather got full of Gustavius Adolphus.
Oh wow, that's an intense name.
Spooky nickname. Just call him Adam. God,
So
I love how Richard. You've just all these dad jokes.
Wait, but I'm curious. So Doris, your brother's like on his birth certificate, it just says Gus, because that's wild. That's amazing. Matthew Broderick is also part of that club. Oh, of killing.
Ooh, yes, and you know who else? Gloria Estefan with the boat. Remember that? Gloria Estefan hit somebody with her boat, her yacht, and killed him.
Maybe, do you think that's why Brandy hasn't been in a movie in so long? Because she killed
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of one of those things that happen and they just kind of sweep it under the rug.
Yeah, I would be devastated. I mean, obviously, I'm sure, I hope and assume it was an accident.
Yes. Oh yeah, Caitlyn Jenner is the other one. They hit, killed somebody in their car too.
I have little interest in what Caitlyn does or has done, but there are a lot of people, I guess, who have done that. That's oh boy. Okay, so what's yours?
Mine is also based on a play, and I had a few ones I could pick for this, but I did want to pick one that I actually read and watched the movie, and it's Hamlet. The translation is the Laurence Olivier version. And there's obviously a lot of different versions of Hamlet. And I think if I had seen this before, it was when I was very young. I did reread the play before watching it because I hadn't read Hamlet in a while. And it was so good. He's the best Hamlet. And I think, when you talk about translating Shakespeare into a film, a successful Shakespeare film still needs to acknowledge that they are plays, right? So it needs to because Shakespeare wrote these as stage plays, not as film. So this still has the spirit of being a play, but it's obviously plussed by the fact that, we can go places that a camera can go that our eyes on a stage can't. So, the way the camera weaves through the castle and Hamlet seeing the ghost of his father in a lot of both stage play and movie versions, I think it can come off as very corny. But this is this is very much inspired by German expressionism and surrealism from that period of film. So it's very eerie. And yeah, it was such a good, it's the best Hamlet. And it was so good. I hadn't read Hamlet in so many years. And
what edition of Hamlet is that? Who's the publisher? That looks like a
Pelican. Which is by Penguin. Yeah.
If it's a bird, it's probably by Penguin.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Does it have lots of good info in there, like notes?
It has it has a good introductions. It's the same introductions that they've used for years. But I have every play in these editions, and
they look slick.
Yeah, they're very slick. I feel very slick, like that woman from your book. Two biggest disappointments. I love that Doris is playing along. Big House of Doors by Tan Twing Ing. Never heard of it.
That,
Collective Rabbit Hole. Oh yeah, and it is. I have I have 3 dozen of these. And this is the problem I have is I have culled a lot of books, but then I have do I need to own every Shakespeare play, which I now own? You can see that's just the dramas. And then there's the comedies. Okay. I'm like, do I need all those? I could buy one little bind up of all of his plays and it would be condensed down to that much. No. But then I wouldn't be able to go to a coffee shop with this and have people look at me. You know what I mean?
You need them separate. It's just easier and better to read.
Are you a Shakespeare girl?
It's kind of like one of those things. I've only read one and now I don't remember which one it was. But my problem is that there's editions of books. There's all those Rhodes books that were so beautiful, that Dracula cover that I think I talked about last year. That is just so gorgeous and stunning. And I was like, I'm going to get it for myself one day. I don't need it right now. And then they went out of business. And now it costs like hundreds of dollars to get that edition of Dracula. And it's heartbreaking because I wanted it so bad. And so I feel kind of the same way, because if I have a set of books, like I want them to all be the same. And I have one or two Shakespeare's that are like of a specific pub. I guess they would be upstairs, but anyways, the point is that
I'll start gifting you. Start
them. That's the problem, you know.
Well, that's what I'm going to come up. We're going to cull like a couple hundred books, and then you can...
maybe a couple dozen.
A couple dozen? Oh my God! All the books I loved on Earth were brief.
It was good. It was heartbreaking.
I mean, for those that like that sort of thing, that's the sort of thing they like. Richard Reed. Watching a play adaptation movie form is like listening and saying no, not at all. Not at all. You're wrong. No, that's funny. That's funny.
That is funny.
Well, I can tell you, when I was watching the movie, I only had my eyes on my movie, and I wasn't eating, and I wasn't scrolling through my phone. Oh, taking care of a child, God forbid. All right. Next question. Of course, these next couple questions we always scoff at because we're above them. But the book that made you happy and the book that made you the saddest. A book that made me happy. This is harder than the book that made me sad because, again, we don't read happy books, right? But it is my turn, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. This is a book called Textermination by Christine Brooke Rose. Brooke Rose was an experimental British author, mid to late 20th century. And this is just a weird little book, man. It's about, it opens up with Emma Woodhouse from Jane Austen's Emma and Guter in a carriage on their way to an airport. And they're flying out to a Hilton in San Francisco, where there's a convention of hundreds of characters from literature. So we have everyone from characters from Jane Austen. We have Dorothea from Middlemarch. We have characters from Philip Roth's book, Odysseus. Hundreds of references that Brooke Rose makes, and they're all meeting at this Hilton in San Francisco for a convention where they're having group prayers to pray that people still read their books, to pray for the characters who are no longer read and are not in people's consciousness, and to pray that people read them correctly. And at this convention, again, there's so many literary references throughout the book. There's an attempted terrorist attack by Islamics related to like Salman Rushdie affair. There's this was published in the early 90s. So at one point, the cast of Dallas shows up along with Columbo, and they're protesting that people's attention is now on them. And that's how it should be. So there's these TV characters who are protesting against these literary. We followed the staff who's running this convention, and they're kind of analyzing like what is the canon and what deserves to be. It's just really, it's so bizarre. And yeah, it was just like, it was a total joy to read. And yeah, it was a romp. It was a ride. It was a romp.
Super fun.
Yeah. And it's one of those books that I'll grow with, because there's dozens, probably hundreds of references to different characters from ancient to current literature up until that point. So, and a lot of them I didn't even know. So it's like something I'll return to and be like, oh my God, there's that character. And yeah, it was great.
That sounds so fun. But yeah, while you're talking, I was like, I feel like maybe I would get annoyed by all of this. Sometimes I get irritated by literary references because I feel like it's the author trying to pat you on the back for knowing something, and it kind of grates on me a little bit. But
it didn't. I know what you mean, and it didn't feel that way. And again, it's a relatively short book, so it's not like it's pretty rapid fire. But I think it was great, and fun.
Great.
What made you happy this year, Stephanie? Oh,
I loved this. I thought it was so fun. I mean, makes you happy is kind of like a weird thing, but I thoroughly enjoyed and laughed out loud
Really?
reading this book. Yes, but there is something maybe wrong with me because it's not like it's not something that would classically be considered a funny thing. And at this point, I remember very, very little of this book because it is like very, is it even physics? I don't remember. Astrophysics. Complex ties between scientific and mathematical understanding and personal and historical catastrophe. So it has a lot of different scientists throughout the, years that have created things that have led to major disasters. And so when I first started reading it, I was doing a lot of like Googling because I was like, is that true? Is that true? Who's this person? And then eventually you're like, I can't literally Google everything in this book. It is exhausting. But I will say this has the classic thing of lots of men that think very highly of themselves and don't understand how negatively their thoughts, actions, behaviors are on other people. And it just makes me laugh when I read about narcissistic idiot men who are actually quite smart. They're very, very smart.
Yeah.
But there's lots of just tone deafness. That's not maybe right what I'm trying to say, but I love when well, I mean, yeah. And then again, you don't know, like there are some parts of this that are fiction, but I think mostly the information is factual, at least like the first maybe 2/3 of the book. It's like more factual and then it gets like weirder, but it's just super weird, super crazy. Lots of men just getting
being men.
Too high on their own supply,
So,
baby.
yeah. So, Nicola, if you remember, I bought this book on your recommendation 2 years ago, and I haven't read it yet. So that'll bump it up.
It's
and that's
so
good.
yeah, it's very fun.
Cool.
But again, I don't know if fun's the right word because it talks about like really terrible things that have happened.
Well, our interpretation of fun is twisted. So I think that's eating birthday cake and reading about monkeys. See, eating and reading, Nicola.
Funny because there are human beings like in the real world that have died because of the things that these men have invented. But I feel like when I was reading the book, I was kind of like dissociating from that and just focusing on the ridiculousness of the men.
Absurdity. It's the absurdity of it. Yes.
Yeah.
Dory says about a suitcase full of cat socks into the country. Everything is cute. Sounds like very you, Doris. Suitcase full of cat socks. How are your kitties, Doris?
Yeah.
Broke Down Palace. That is a big ass book. Yeah, I've been reading a lot of big books, Doris. I can't help it. I'm a man with a big brain. I gotta have big books. You know what I'm saying? Nicholas says I'm on tender hooks for Doris to catch up. We started responding to her.
Okay, saddest book that made me cry. I haven't finished this book.
Have you been crying a lot this year overall?
Yeah, a lot. Crying all the time, but not because of books, except for this one. So I have not finished Demon Copperhead by Barbara Kingsolver. I was worried about reading this because typically
anti-religious.
I guess. I mean, I'm not really like sensing a religiosity per se in this book yet. Anyways, I haven't picked it up in months though, because the last thing that I read devastated me to my core. And I feel like a lot of people were having problems with this book because of whatever. I mean, it has to do with the opioid crisis and all of that. And I can't remember what the exact criticisms were, but I just remember everyone loving, like, you know how every book is, everyone loves, then all of a sudden all the hate drops and like starts criticizing something that everyone is really enjoying. And so I was very nervous because I typically don't really like books that are like, you know, overly like super popular books. I'm not a huge fan of. And I heard a lot of like criticisms of it from people that I'm like, oh yeah, I feel like we have similar tastes. So I was nervous going into it. I picked it up for a book club, I think, a meetup book club, and I obviously didn't finish. But there is a scene about, I'm going to start crying, but there is a scene, I wish I knew what Doris was saying LMAO about.
3 hours behind. Don't
Not about what I'm talking about. 2
bring on the tears. Bring on the tears.
But basically, there is a character. So the main character, you know, it's a what's his name? David Copperfield retelling.
Did you read that book?
No, of course not. And so he's got a friend, and he's talking about, I think when his friend was younger, the mom basically was in an abusive relationship. It's going like into the backstory of how these people got here, and the mom was in an abusive relationship. And there's a scene where the father of the child ties the mom outside to like the porch or whatever and leaves the door open with the baby, like the fresh baby. I don't know how small the baby was, but like a baby, like in a playpen, like looking at them. So the mom is like looking at her baby, the door is open, he's like being exposed to the elements, she has no idea, like all night long. So she doesn't know if her baby's like alive still, the baby's hungry and crying. And like, I cannot tell you how much I cried reading that. I don't know if it would have affected me as much prior to being a mom, but like just the thought of like having like your baby need something from you and like you physically being incapable of like going to the baby. Like I was crying so much, Adam, and I was in public in a bookstore or in a coffee shop. It's horrible.
I love it.
So I haven't picked it up since then because that really hurt me so much.
How are you going to finish it? How far are you into it?
I'm going to finish it. It's not that
Oh God, you're not going to survive, Stephanie.
Well, I'm hoping that the rest, like if it's not baby related, I'm hoping that it won't be. I mean, I read Sharp Objects earlier this year that had like little girls being killed, and that didn't make me cry. So I'm hoping that but it probably will. And I think that's the part of the criticism of this is that it like makes you like it like is, you know, feeding into like
emotionally
sadness.
Yeah.
Like the reason that people didn't like A Little Life kind of thing.
Right.
But I like crying.
I didn't know what it was about other than it was a retelling of David Copperfield. And that makes me more interested because I love, you know, drug stories and whatnot. But I was just like, you know, I've read, what's her big one, her main book, Africa. God. What's the African one? The Poisonwood Bible.
Okay.
I read that and it was fine, but I'm like, what am I going to be, a Kingsolver reader? Am I going to read the Bean Trees, Stephanie?
I think I am after this. Like,
okay, well, maybe I'll give it a go.
I'm only 100, not even. I'm 60 pages. But it just emotionally affected me so much. And again, I don't know if that's like me or her or the story or what, but I mean, it doesn't really matter because it has affected me and I am on board. But I do need to this is on my list of things that I need to finish, but good. I needed a break.
But that's great. You know, a book that can invoke that kind of visceral response, I think that's a success.
It's so sad.
Doris was off shopping while live streaming. Slacker. Yeah. Well, mine's going to involve a baby too, Stephanie. And so, and I was so proud because, as we've talked about before, I'm not a big crier. And I've been doing these mid-year tags even before we started doing them. So I've been doing it, I don't know, like 7 or 8 years of these things. And I think I've only cried once, which was a couple years with you. If you remember, there was a graphic novel that involved a cat death, which I cried. But otherwise, I don't usually cry. But I did this year. And as that tear came out of my, what's it called? Duct?
Yeah.
It streamed down my face. My first thought was, I have an answer for it. And it was a reread of Neville Shute's On the Beach. Have you read this? Mm-mm. On the Beach. This is from 1950s. And I had read this before. It's a post-nuclear novel where Australia, another Australian book, Australia is the last continent surviving after a nuclear war. The Northern Hemisphere has been wiped out after World War III between Russia and China. All these nuclear bombs have gone off, and the nuclear cloud has killed the Northern Hemisphere, and now it's working its way down. And Australia is, as far as we know, the last surviving, and these people in Melbourne is one of the last civilizations still alive. So the first half of the book is them trying to see if there's any hope. You know, there's a rumor that maybe the cloud will dissipate by the time it gets to them. They're also getting this weird SOS signal from Seattle. So they're wondering if maybe there's still life up there. And this book is old enough where I can spoil it and say there's no hope. Everybody dies. Everybody dies. And the second half of the book is really these people realizing that their imminent death is coming. And we follow the characters on how they choose to live out their final weeks alive. And there's one particular family that has the husband's in the Navy and the wife, and they have a young daughter, a toddler, and they choose to spend their time just staying at home and working in the garden. And the wife throughout the novel is in denial that this is coming, and she doesn't understand how Australia, not being involved in the war, yet they're still paying the price of the rest of the world's actions, right? So she's like, why is that coming down? It's not fair. Yeah, and they come to the realization, and of course, everybody in the town gets suicide pills, and they have to, they feel the sickness to come on as radiation enters the environment, and they gotta put down their child, their baby, because before they take the suicide pills, because they don't want to just die, so they have to kill their little baby before they kill themselves. So they kill the baby, and then they have a dinner together, and then they die, and everybody dies. And
that is harsh.
It's really harsh, but it's just a really compelling read. It's a page turner. And it's just like it's a real classic. But oh my gosh,
I know, I understand. I'm sorry. That makes me want to rewatch Melancholia, and it also reminds me of another movie that I watched. I think it was earlier this year, that involved suicide pills. Like they knew that something's coming to kill them all, and so it's like a Last Christmas, and it's basically like a not as good version of Melancholia, but it's got a funnier ending.
Yeah.
But yeah, that sounds.
And this book originally had a lot of some criticism, because some people talk about how like there wasn't enough panic, and people were maybe too polite, even though the end of the world was happening.
Would you want to know if the end of the world was coming?
Well, I think especially, we lived through COVID, which is obviously not as severe, but I think we are survivalists, and we in our mind, we don't believe stuff will happen until it's in our face, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's not too far off, because a lot of these people, they go on living their lives. Some of them even continue to work their jobs, because you're in denial and you're grasping onto any hope that maybe it won't come to you. So I don't think it's over, I think the old me, I would have thought, people would be pillaging in the street and burning things on fire and raping. But now I think, everyone would just kind of chill and wait until they came, and then off themselves at the right moment. Kitties are doing great. I saw them last week. Oh, good, Doris. I'm glad to have. And hope your son is doing well as well. Yes. Ace, pick it up. It's a classic for sure. And it was in the 1950s, so everybody was scared of the bomb, and they were all writing about this shit. Mm-hmm. Reminds me of the movie Threads. I've never seen it. Have you seen Threads?
I don't think so.
Richard reads, I want to reread The Beach now. Yeah, did we read that together as well, Richard? I forgot. Years ago. I think we read that. I forgot about putting down the kids. I know. I would have put down the child very early on and then enjoyed my last time together. I'm speaking for my own figurative child, Stephanie, not yours. I wonder. I'm just saying, how am I going to party on the beach?
Oh my gosh.
If I'm worrying about baby Adam. Fast forward. I fast forward to the crybaby books. I'm not about that emotional shit. But Doris, you're a very cold person.
I don't think anyone's said that about Doris. I forgot to get my Prettiest book, which is the next one. It's so awkward because I'm wearing very short shorts.
That was the one book you're supposed to show.
Yeah, hold on. I'm just gonna cover my camera.
Okay. I fast forward through crybaby books. I'm about that. I'm not. Well, see, I'm opposite. I think I try to sell myself as being very cold, but I'm a very emotionally tapped in person. And yeah, I care too much about people.
You do.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, another book, Richard. At the end, there's another character who goes off with all his buddies in the submarine, and one of his the girlfriend wants to come along, and he says, "Nope, that's against Navy standards. Even though we're all dying, you're not allowed on the sub." So he ditches her on the beach, and he goes in the sub with all his bros, and there was some gay stuff going on in those last hours in the sub.
You should have let her come anyways.
No, it's dignity. Women should not be in service. They don't belong in subs.
Okay.
Yeah, ditch the ladies and the kids and jump in that sub. Most beautiful book. Whose turn is it?
Yours.
Okay. I don't have that exciting. I think this is more beautiful just because of my own relationship with the book. But it is a first edition copy of What We Talk About When We Talk About Love by Raymond Carver. And this is not an exceptional cover, but I love Raymond Carver. And I revisited his three main collections this year, and I rewarded myself by buying this book, which cost way too much money. This was originally published in late 70s. When was this first published? 1974. And I especially love having it because What We Talk About When We Talk About Love is the most copied book title of all freaking time. There is a million books called What We Talk About When We Talk About Blank, and Carver was the OG. Okay, you guys, he's the one that started it all. So it's kind of and I also love his short stories are extremely depressing. They're very dark also, but he does have a sense of humor within them. But I love that how happy the colors of this cover are, because the contents are just so dark and disturbing that I love it. So yeah, just it's not the most beautiful book, but for me as an object, and I'm really focusing on acquiring books as physical objects that really mean a lot to me. This book has meant a lot to me because it kind of represents me as a young man, being a reader, getting into literary fiction. I associate Carver with the Pacific Northwest very strongly. It has such a strong thing. Have you read Carver at all? Oh, you would love it. Just these. Him and Murakami were friends, and his simplified style is kind of reminiscent of Murakami minus the magical realism stuff. But yeah, my first edition of Raymond Carver to celebrate my reread of the books.
Mine is a gift from Jake, and
That's beautiful.
Yeah, it is so beautiful.
Minari, that's the movie?
Yeah, so it's from A24. Basically, I wanted the movie Everything Everywhere All at Once. A24 had a really nice edition of it, and I wanted it so bad. And so he got an account. What do you call it? A membership? A membership at A24, and then they have like special things, whatever. So he got this book, and it's
a free gift on your birthday.
Free gift on your birthday. But oh, how funny! There is something by Ocean Vuong in here. The field is open. But
did you get the Everyone All at Once edition?
I did. Yeah, it's beautiful. I haven't watched it yet though.
What do you mean watch? Oh, you mean it wasn't a book. It was the movie.
No, Everything Everywhere All at Once, the movie.
Yeah. I thought it was a book because I think A24 is doing books for like all their popular movies, right? Books like that.
Right? There's definitely like a book in it but it's not like a book of the movie. I think it's just like information and stuff. So
Mhm.
I'm into all of that kind of, it's like the, like the criteria and all the essays and stuff.
Sure, yeah.
But yeah, so this has portions, I think, of the screenplay in English and then also in Korean, which obviously I won't be able to read. This is definitely more of like an item to have, not necessarily an item to like sit down and read cover to cover.
Right.
But it has.
I mean, I never saw Minari.
Oh, it's beautiful. It's devastating. It's lovely.
I listened to the score of it. Funny enough, I really like the music from it.
Yeah, so there's like pictures, and it's just a very beautiful object that has a lot of Korean in it that I won't
Hottie guy
be able to. Oh my gosh, hello police. Where's he at? Where's Mr. Yoon? Where's he at? Oh, he can't really see him super well. Hold on, let me see if there's a good picture of him.
I don't get stage fright when girls are around. No, Richard, I'm fully comfortable around women, especially women that know their place. Oh yeah,
women that know their place. Anyways, he is such a hottie. Ooh, and
I still need to get around to seeing that.
Yeah, it was a really beautiful movie. But there's lots of goodies in here, and again, lots of goodies that I can't read. But it is just a beautiful kind of object. So
It is beautiful.
My prettiest book that has come into.
Do you have like a special shelf where you display your pretty books? Like,
Well, I have this book over there. It's covering my. I need to like do something about this disaster behind me. But I have like there's a little portion of my shelf that has the Criterion like box sets, and I just have this in front of it. I don't really have a lot of pretty books necessarily, so. Maybe one day it will be nicer in here, but that's what I got for now.
No, and that's just I mean, where are your bookshelves? That's a fraction of your bookshelves, right?
Yeah, they're all dispersed around the house. So.
Yeah. Ace says, late to see your Carterescu speak in Dallas. And yeah, Carterescu, I want to read more of him. He's great. Solenoid. And the final question is
obvious answer.
Obvious answer. What was our best bookish moment?
Indie bookstore weekend, I guess. Indie bookstore weekend. Of course. It was so much fun. I just realized that I never posted any vlog footage. I think I took some while we were doing.
I think you did near the beginning, and then you gave up quickly. It's like
hard with the baby.
It's
hard in general for me to vlog anymore, anyways, because it's not like instinctual anymore. I'm enjoying my time doing something as opposed to taking my phone out and recording it. But I do feel like I have some footage, and maybe I will post it eventually. Maybe I'll post a video on my channel.
It was our second year. Our good retired booktubers, Nicola and Grace, flew in, and it was our second year doing it all together, and our first year of completing it.
Your first year of completing.
Your first year. Stephanie's, of course, a pro. And it was crazy, but it was so much fun. And it was 28 bookstores? Is that how many?
I think so. Between 26 and 28, I can't remember.
And we did it over the span of 2 days with the baby. As I mentioned, he was so well behaved. And yeah, I'm so happy. I don't know if I could ever do all bookstores again. There's a lot. But I applaud. And as always, Stephanie is the MVP because she not only goes to every bookstore, but she purchases a book from every. You've got to be the only person that does that. Because all these people who are marathoning, you guys, they're just running in and out to get their stamp.
But the point of Indie Bookstore Day is to support indie bookstores. So.
Which, to be fair, 2/3 of those places I don't want to support. 28. I mean, I do want to support them, but some of them are just not my vibe.
Okay, well.
But Adam, when you have bookstores that are not for you, then the people that you don't want to be in the bookstore with go to those bookstores and leave you alone in the bookstores you want to be in.
I can't. What did he say? Translate that.
He said that if you support the bookstores that you don't want to go into, then it creates a place and environment for people to go to that you don't want to maybe necessarily associate with. So basically, like, then you guys have your own space.
So by supporting lesser bookstores, I can corral the
Well,
hog.
they're not lesser, they're just not to your taste. That
Well,
doesn't
they are lesser because my taste is definitive. That's such a wild yeah, I want to support all. There is rooms for all bookstores. There is room for them. I'm just saying that I applaud you for being able to find a book at every store, and I really admire you for supporting all those bookstores. And to be fair, I mean, I bought a book at probably 2/3 of bookstores myself, so I did as well. And I pride myself because I only got stamps at bookstores in which I purchased books, unlike these marathon people. And Grace and Nicola. I refuse. You know, I don't line up for free food and I don't line up for free stamps, Stephanie. Okay? Too much pride. But it was such a joy, and I'm glad. Even, you know, we'll see how we feel next year. But, you know, if it was me, I would build a curated kind of list. And I would stop for 2-hour coffee breaks in between every other bookstore. But that's where we differ, Stephanie. Yeah. Is I don't feed off of the chase, right? That is your adrenaline, and you love that. Where my joy is just spending time with you.
But you can do that anytime.
Yeah, but it's the adventure of it all. You know, that's the memory I take. The stamps are just a bonus. Okay. There is no rule. I know there's no rule, but it's my internal morals that come into play.
Stamps are for winners. Do you see her next comment?
Stamps are for winners. What is this? You sound like Trump over there.
How could you say that?
What are these quotes? Stamps are for winners. There's no rule. These are like talking points.
No, dude.
Stamps for what is this stamp propaganda?
There's no stamp propaganda. It's just fun to do a task with a group of people.
It is. It's the people that matter.
It's like a citywide event where everyone is getting together and doing the same thing, and it's super exciting to be part of that and to accomplish it is nice.
It was, and we did it. And I did. I know you always save your stamp card, but I don't. And I went in a couple weeks after, and I got my discount, because if you get a certain amount of stamps, you get a discount at a bookstore, or all of the bookstores if you do all of them. And I went in and cashed it in. It was so nice.
I mean, my little card is up there waiting for me to get my discount at all the stores.
I thought you always save it though.
No. I always cash it in.
Oh, really?
How is anyone supposed to know I won Indie Bookstore Day if I don't cash in my card?
Well, I thought you kept them, I don't know, as a memento.
No. Hold on. So you give them your card thing. This is last year's. And then they give you this, which is a smaller card. And it has the word champion on it. So 2023, August. I'm almost done. Please. Sir, hold on. And then it has all the bookstores. And so you get...
But there's no stamps.
Well, that's because you get 25% off at each bookstore. And so when you get the 25% off, they give you the stamp that you've gotten.
Again? A second stamp?
Well, I don't know if it's a stamp or a signature. But the point is that you're free to get 25% off at each bookstore.
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know you did that. I thought you just kept the card so you could look at the stamps and the memories. But so how, like on average, how many bookstores do you revisit and use that at?
This is from 2023, so 0, clearly.
So you might as well just keep the original. You're driving me crazy here.
But this one's cute and small.
See, I thought, knowing you and your kind of Bujo past, I thought the stamps would mean more to you.
No. I did keep Jake's this year because he missed one stamp, and so he didn't want to turn it in.
That was such a bummer.
That was such a huge bummer. I kind of feel like they give it back to, I don't know. I feel like they give it back to you. I don't remember. We'll have to go up to Seattle so I can get my card and spend a little money. So
we'll
maybe
go on a curated book run
Yeah.
together, okay? Just to the cream of the crop.
I'll email them because they might like get rid of it eventually if I don't go. Lines are a drag, Doris. It's not.
It's not about the community aspect. See, Doris, she's cold. She's a cold woman, right?
I guess so.
I'm a people person. I just want to be there and hang out, Stephanie, with you and August and Jake and Nicola and Stephanie or Grace.
What?
Hardwick. I did finish the Massive Elizabeth Hardwick, and yeah, I had so much good reads this year that I couldn't fit. I've just been so active in reading, Stephanie, that I had a surplus of good stuff to pick, but it was definitely another great
Oh, nice for you. Maybe I will by the end of the year too.
You will. And then again, as long as you're reading and loving and you're doing all that, it matters.
I'm reading better things now. I started off the year with a lot of very not good things, but I feel like I'm reading better things now, so that's good.
Okay, are you gonna go take care of your child now? What are you gonna do?
I think so.
Well, thank you we've completed our 4th annual mid-year tag. I appreciate everybody who stopped by to say hello, and as always, I'm glad we've kept the tradition coming. No longer how long we disappear, we will always, yes, agree to have this meeting at the mid-year point, unless we get in a fight and stop talking, and we'll see how if August if August comes in between us, shit happens. This child's already pulling away from me, and I don't know how I feel about it. Fungus, the summer October baby. Oh yeah, is he gonna come say?
Yeah, come say goodbye, baby.
Oh my gosh. Bye.
Say bye.
Yes, the plague cabal lives on. Oh, and someone did mention, don't forget, Stephanie, you have to do your indie bookstore. It's a tradition. You always have to do your book haul from Indie Bookstore Day.
I know, but now I don't know which books they are anymore. I've already kind of like put them away. I don't think so.
Wow, I know you got the receipt. You got a stamp in each one. Get hunting.
Next year.
We'll see. I could probably do some of them at least. I'll try my hardest. But that was like a really hard weekend because again, I got my feminist press haul and then I also took a lot of books from your house. So it's just too many books. But if I did all of those combined, I could do it easier because I have them on my Goodreads.
We'll hunt it down. I'm going to come down in the fall for the coal cabal. We're going to burn the books in your backyard.
Oh. No burning of books.
So maybe we'll check it out then. All right. Thank you, everybody. Talk to you soon. God bless.
Bye.
Marilyn Robinson for life.
No, absolutely not.
Stephanie and I both co-sign it. We're big fans.
No!
Now.